Hello everybody, it's Mike again, and the question is, what is the three-step framework that all winners use? What is the three-step framework that all winners use? And in this video, I'm going to break it down for you. These 3 steps are the most important steps that really apply to almost anything you do. But winning is mostly a game of decision making good decisions, whether it's on the football field, on the tennis court, on the golf course, in business. It all boils down to these 3 steps. So step number 1 boils down to what kind of information do you have on whatever it is you're looking at. Let's take example of a golf shot. It's your second shot. You're going to try to hit the green. So do you have sufficient information to figure out what club to use, your yardage? You're taking into account the wind, the weather, the heat, the type of club that you want to use to get the distance. There's a lot of factors that can go into that first step, which is called gathering information. And most people fail right there in step 1. That's where most people lose, because they don't gather sufficient information. They don't get enough information to move to the second step. So, again, do you have sufficient information? Do you have sufficient information about what the decision is you're faced with? It can apply to anything. Maybe you have someone in the hospital and your family members in the hospital, so you've got some decisions to make. Well, before you make the decisions, you got to have enough information. So do you have enough information from the physician and the nurses and whatever to really make a qualified, good decision? If you don't, you stay in step 1 until you feel like you do have sufficient information. Then you move to step 2. What is step 2? Well, step 2 is you've now gathered the information, so you're moving into step 2 to start to ponder over the information, analyze the information, think about the information. And you stay in step 2 until you feel like you have done everything you can do about understanding this information, understanding the ramifications of it, the pros and cons of it. You know, what's the upside, what's the downside, what's the middle case, best case, worst case, all those different scenarios. And then once you have spent sufficient time studying, pondering over, analyzing this information, you go to step 3, which is the conclusion of the 3-step winning framework. And even though some might say it's the most important part of the framework, really it's not. It's just the culmination of steps 1 and 2. If you did a good job in steps 1 and 2, then step 3, which is making the decision, step 3 is making the decision, is relatively easy. Although where most people mess up is they don't have sufficient information in step 1 about whatever that decision is, hitting the winning golf shot, whatever. They go to step 3 without even having A, sufficient information, B, ever going to step 2. They just went from step 1 with insufficient information to step 3, making a decision, and usually you'll hear them say, well, I had a gut feel. You know, I had a gut feeling that X, Y, and Z. Well, I understand that. But if you haven't gathered sufficient information at step 1, and you didn't take time to review everything at step 2, you may be just operating purely on emotion without having instituted the 3-step winning framework. And your gut feel that you would get if you had gone through the 3-step winning framework would probably be a more valid gut feel than just going on gut feel alone. And I know we hear about, I had a gut feeling this was going to happen, whatever. But a lot of times gut feels wrong. That's why the casinos are making all the money. And most people are transferring their hard-earned money to the casino because they're going on gut feel, emotions, long shots, whatever, not understanding how that whole industry operates. So there you have it, the 3-step winning framework that all winners use, that you can put to good use in your life right now and start winning. Start winning by making winning decisions. Even something as small as, okay, what are my options for meals this week? Gather information. What do we want to do? Let's lay out a plan. Start getting information, you know, to kind of sync up your eating with your fitness program so you can optimize your time, optimize the effectiveness of the program, and so on and so forth. So there you have it, everybody. Thanks for listening.